Hey everyone, Irix Guy here, back again with another boating how-to video. Now, what I'm about to depict is a scenario where you're at the boat launch, you backed your boat into the water, you got your transom down, everything's good to go, you've run your blower, and then you crank that ignition and there's nothing at all happens. So this is based upon a real scenario that happened to me today. So I'm going to go through the most basic, and my issue has been resolved, by the way, but I'm going to start with the most basic checks that one should perform if their boat fails to crank. And number one would be make sure, obviously, that your key is properly inserted, because if it's not, you may not actually be turning it to turn the engine on. Number two, is your battery connected? Now, if your battery's connected, do you have a depth finder or radio or other devices? Do those work? Now keep in mind, and this is what puzzled me today, even though those devices work, such as my depth finder and my radio, that's still separate from your ignition. So there's still the possibility there that, just because your accessories work doesn't mean that your engine will necessarily work. And I'll get to that here in a minute. The other thing, and this is one of the most common problems, on your throttle, where you have that little cable that hangs down, the safety cable, the kill switch, so if you fell out of the boat it would kill your engine. Often that falls out, and even if it looks like it's still in there, it may have fallen out. And then often on those kill switches, there's an up and down lever. It's usually red or something, a little piece of plastic. Make sure that that's engaged, because I've seen a lot of scenarios where people, even though their kill switch cable's in there, they don't have that little knob turned up, so it's not engaged. So that'll prevent an engine from starting. Now, the thing I'm about to go into is one of the most basic checks. We'll go into some more advanced checks here in a minute, but this was actually what had prevented mine from starting, and I kind of feel like a fool. So, like I said earlier, my accessories were working, my radio was working, my depth finder was working. But my problem was due to the battery. So even though, and this was my first time out in the boat this season, even though I had properly disconnected, I'd only disconnected the negative wire from the battery when I winterized it. But when I de-winterized it, I didn't de-winterize it myself. I had someone else do it because I didn't want to deal with the oil change. It was kind of messy. Then when they returned it to me, they returned it just like I gave it to them, with the negative battery wire off. So, I simply put that back on and checked my accessories, and I didn't crank it and run it in my street like I normally do, because I knew that it had just had the oil changed and it had been run for that, so I knew everything was good. I should have done that. And if you've got those little muff things, it's always a good idea to safely run your boat before heading to the boat ramp for the new boating season. Because had I done that, I would have spotted the problem before I got to the boat ramp and my boat wouldn't crank on the trailer. So what it was, there's actually two wires that connect to the negative side of the battery. And I was unaware of that because when I disconnected them, when I winterized the boat myself, I'd only disconnected one cable. But the person that de-winterized my boat, they disconnected both. So inadvertently, I only had one wire connected to the negative battery lead. So my accessories were working, but my ignition wouldn't crank. Now that was my problem. But if those checks don't resolve your issue, what you may want to check next are your fuses. Now often there's fuses in the engine compartment if you've got an inboard boat. And then often there's fuses under the helm or somewhere else. There's a fuse box. Check those ignition fuses, because more than likely one of those might be blown. Check for wiring issues. Maybe there's some wiring underneath your helm. Maybe there's some wiring within your engine compartment, that some of the plastic housing has come off and it's making contact with something and creating a short. That's a possibility. Also in the engine, for most inboards, there's a little switch. It's typically a red switch, and there's like a yellow reset button. So you can push that red switch, and then that yellow reset button. Now that's a fuse that's inside, and I may have this terminology wrong, But on most, such as the Mercruiser 3.5 TKS, it's towards the top of the engine. You'll see that little red button and that little yellow reset switch. That's often the source of a problem. And something that I should have said earlier, do you have fuel in your boat? I know that seems kind of silly, but someone may have inadvertently failed to fill the tank back up and it's completely out. But even with it being completely out of fuel, you would expect to at least hear a little bit of noise when you try to start the engine. That's about it. And like I said, my problem, the root cause of my problem, was failing to reconnect both of the wires to the negative battery lead. And I feel like an idiot. But I don't feel like an idiot when I share this video, and hopefully if you've encountered the same or similar problems, hopefully this points you in the right direction and you don't have to do what I did and give up after troubleshooting for a while and pay someone almost $100 to connect a cable to your battery. I felt stupid. But anyway, share this video and any of my videos with others, and be sure to subscribe to the IRIX Sky Adventure channel and enjoy all my videos. It's youtube.com/IRIX Sky. Y'all have a good day.